Hello everyone, welcome to Kilmore Creations. We make wood and resin home decor and furniture, and today we're going to be showing you how we made this vibrant poplar and resin tray. As you can see, this wood has some character, some knots, a few cracks, and we're going to fill that with resin. So here I'm adhering some HVAC tape to the sides of each knot where our resin is going to go. Next, I'm just building a small dam with hot glue to keep the resin from pouring out. I'm going to fill these holes with black resin, so I'm just adding a few drops of liquid pigment. Now I'm just agitating it with a toothpick to free any air bubbles that may be trapped. After that, I periodically used a blowtorch to pop any other bubbles that came to the surface. For this board, we thought it would be fun to experiment with some glow pigment to make a cool glow-in-the-dark piece. Unfortunately, this didn't work out in the end because the glow pigment settled on the bottom of the tray, and later when we planed it, we ended up removing most of it. On the bright side, the mica powders we used for the rest of the color turned out beautifully. A good tip is to let your resin sit for a few minutes after mixing it to let the bubbles rise to the surface, and then hit it with the torch. Off camera, we removed the tape and glue from the wood and placed it in the mold. After pouring half the resin, we secured the boards by placing a weight on top. I try to get out as many bubbles as I can before making the second pour. We're working with a very thin resin here, which takes 36 hours to fully set. That means if you try to add your swirls too soon, you'll see that they just dissolve over time. So if you want to add a swirl effect, you'll need to wait until the resin starts to thicken. In this case, it took about 24 hours until we had the consistency we wanted. At this point, a few more days have gone by and the resin has hardened enough for it to come out of the mold. I said this resin takes 36 hours to harden, but to be safe, we usually give it a few extra days before we demold it. now that we got the board out of the mold, it was time to test out the glow effect. The glow powder had a strong effect, but like I mentioned earlier, we had a problem with this because of the powder sinking to the bottom. You can also see where I was dragging the popsicle stick due to the thick layer of glow powder on the bottom. You can also see that the glow wasn't nearly as bright from the top. Ultimately, when we planed it, this entire layer got shaved off, and in the end, the board doesn't really glow anymore. It does glow a little bit, but it's barely noticeable. So, we can just chalk that up to an experiment where we learned something new. The next step in the process was to plane the board flat on both sides with our router sled. After that, we sanded it up to 220 grit and then began the finishing process. Unfortunately, we didn't get any footage of that step, but we followed the process of applying a few coats of lacquer, wet sanding at 400 grit, and then finally applying a final coat of lacquer and polishing it to achieve a flawless finish. Next, we installed the handles. We went with this gold set that we got from Lowe's, and it contrasts with the turquoise beautifully. As a final step, we also installed rubber feet to keep the board from scratching any surfaces. This tray is currently available for sale. We're still working on getting our website up and running, so if you're interested, you can purchase it by messaging us directly on social media. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it. If you want to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our channel to see more of our creations.